how we can help the world, how we can help our communities. Everybody seems so
Stressed out.
full of anxiety, uncertainty, and I really have been trying to figure out what I can do. How can I contribute to like the collective good? I mean, none of us feel like we can affect what's happening in government or in the world. And we really honestly believe that it starts with yourself. Working on yourself, trauma work, clearing up your own energy field so that you're not at the whim of everybody else's energy. If you figure out how to keep your own good, your own energy field, and your own rhythm, frequency, it's easier to identify things that make you feel bad. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
It's really,
What doesn't resonate with you, you'll understand.
right, if it feels weird, if it feels off to you, you'll know to stay away from it because you're so used to feeling good. You like the way your energy hums along. You like really just feeling better. And there's so many different ways you can feel better. There's so many different avenues to explore. And we really believe in natural, harmonic things. We're not going to rush to an over-the-counter or a prescription or anything like that. Like, it's not a fix, it's a Band-Aid. It's not a permanent fix. It certainly doesn't help grief. It covers it up. It makes you numb. And I think numbness makes things never go away. You have to kind of feel the pain. So we're shooting this today on the 6th year anniversary of some severe trauma to us. My sister, well, let's just explain. Lynn is my best friend, and we've worked together. We've been friends for probably almost 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked in a hair salon. She does nails and massage and hairdresser. My sister was a nail tech. 3 of us worked together for like 13, 14 years. And as far as like me and my sister, we were pretty inseparable, complete opposites, but
Complemented each other perfectly.
the same person with being all at the same time as being different. She kind of was our guide. She was definitely in charge of the 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
She was the person who always knew what was going on, at least in my eyes.
More level head.
Right. She always knew what to do, always could figure it out. She never, I think that I realized this the other day, she taught me unconditional love. Like, I know you get that from your parents, but like, you aren't exactly honest with who you are about your parents, like to your parents when you're young.
Right.
I don't think she ever judged me. And we were so different. Like, I mean, I showed up drunk to labor and delivery ward while she was in premature labor. It was my birthday. I mean, she was just like, oh God, she's here. Oh, please. But she never judged me. Actually, that night I said to her, I'm sorry I'm not the stronger sister. And she said, dude, I'm the strong one. It's our deal. I get it. I accept it. Get off of me. Stop crying. I'm in labor. I don't know, I would have judged me long before, like, she just never did. She always took care of me. She always, like, I mean, I knew when she disapproved, but she didn't yell.
No, she gently guided you
She,
back on the path that you should be on.
she walked quietly and carried a large stick and would tell you about yourself, and you never even saw it coming.
Right. With a smile on her face. You didn't know, you just got told you
You're
about
like,
yourself.
"Oh, I just got told off."
In the nicest possible way.
And I know it's really cliche, but everybody, like, when people die young, we'll get to that part, but everybody's like, oh, they lit up a room, and like, oh, it sounds really cliche, but
She really did.
she fucking did. She, I don't know, always gave everybody the best advice. I mean, I could read you messages, I could go through my phone, I could, you know, like, everybody just thought the world of her. I don't know too many people that didn't like her. I don't know if I know any. I wouldn't say it to my face now anyway. But it was true. It's definitely true that she was a force to be reckoned with. She was definitely a large presence of energy. She guided people. So many people reached out to me like, oh my God, she just always knew the right words. I have a girlfriend that I wasn't speaking to at the time, and my sister would send her encouraging words of how great she was doing, and she told me, like, we weren't talking, but your sister always loved me. Anna.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up. But, like, she just really did. And we've never fought. We never, I didn't fought with you. Like, we all just got along and loved each other, and were happy for each other when things happened, and, you know, just, we were just living life. Just a bunch of normal girls. Yeah, hair salon, that's how I felt. Like,
Right.
it was just, not
We
to
helped
be,
each other.
not to be cliche again, but them good old days, like, we cried over things that didn't matter.
That's true.
And then, I mean, yeah, me and my sister, we were just the two of us raised by a single mom, so like, we always figured shit out. We always figured out ways to do things and what we needed to do, and we always took care of each other. And when we met Lynn, we just took care of her too. She just fit in with us, and
I was adopted in as the third sister.
yeah, I mean, she didn't cause any waves. She fit in perfectly. You're a little bit like both of us. Like, you're kind of a blend of both of us.
That's true.
So then, like, I don't know, when was the last time you saw my sister?
It was Ethan's birthday party. It was that week. It was Thursday, I think it was.
Thursday.
Because the weekend I had a convention to go to.
Yeah. So she had both the kids with her.
Yeah.
So on Sunday, her and I went grocery shopping. Her and I and my son, and then my niece Celeste. And then we went to our storage unit full of furniture and cried there, and, you know, cried over things that didn't matter. And I don't know, we talked we would jokingly say, all right, I'll talk to you in 15 minutes. So then on Monday, April 13th, 2015, I should say I was 19 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
My second kid, girl kid, and I don't know, you want to like go through the story? You know, like,
Yeah.
so in the morning I woke So then I tried to call her, a couple of times, because we were having an oil party.
Yep.
So I was trying to see if I should get cheese and crackers and like what I should
What
do.
the plan was going.
Right. So we were having like an essential oils like party, and it was at my dad's club, like his old club. And sounds like a bar, but so shout out to the Odd Fellows of East Point. And I tried to call her all day. I mean, I'm sure I talked to you during the day a couple of times.
Yeah, you called me and asked if I could get a hold of her, and because I usually talk to her in the morning, every morning, and I didn't hear from her either. So
Right.
you called, and we were both like, no, maybe Celeste like took her phone and put it in one of her purses or something.
Maybe it's in the toilet.
Right.
Maybe she didn't pay her cell phone bill like I didn't. But I carried on. I went to the grocery store, got crackers and cheese and stuff, and I was with my son all day, 'cause obviously my husband's at work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets home, and I said to my sister, I haven't talked to my sister all day. And he's like, well, that's weird. Because usually he's like, get off the phone with your sister, you're on the phone with your sister all the time. We worked together, we kidded together, like we shared each other's kids when one would have to go to work, and he would go on to business for a long time, so. But I went to the club and was prepping. I was there early, all the while like trying to call her. And a couple of people started to show up. 3 lovely ladies were with me. And
I was on my way.
you were on your way. You had a massage.
Yep, I had to work.
And my dad was in the building because he had a meeting in the other room. So I told him, like, I haven't talked to Christy all day. He's like, well, I don't like that. And so he was trying to call her. And so I was talking to the ladies, Michelle, Lori, and Emily. And our oil lady, our oil friend. And then 2 clients, a nail and a hair client. And they said something that still sticks out to me to this day. I was telling them, like, I haven't talked to her all day, and they were in the general consensus that she's not their sister. She's not our sister. We don't know how worried you should be. And I was like, well, damn, okay, then I'm leaving.
Right.
So I don't know. So I left, and I snuck out because I didn't think that if her and her husband were fighting, that she would want Dad there. I didn't think she would. And so, like, to back up a little bit, like, her and her husband had been together forever. Her and her husband have been, like, together forever, since high school. Like, I don't know, he babysat my kid the week before. I never heard a story of him hitting her. I heard lots of stories of him not wanting to spank the children. Like, this is not on my radar at all. Like, to be completely
Not even the
honest.
slightest bit.
Yeah, I mean, there was mental health issues there, but never in a violent way, always in a self-depressed, like,
In his own
inward,
sorrows.
inward. Never. My husband would have gladly shot him. But if we ever thought that was a thing,
Right.
my father would have gladly shot him. But anyway, that's besides the point. I just wanted to note that, like, that wasn't a thing in our lives. Like, I didn't fear for my sister. She was not abused. She was maybe sometimes unhappy in her marriage, like due to his laziness, which was due to depression, which they struggled over. I mean, mental health is the reason we're making this video,
Right.
because your unhealthy energy and you're sucking up negativity from other people leads to an unhealthy mental state. Setting that all aside. So, my dogs are in the house. There's no. Sorry. So, I got there. I called my husband to tell him that I hadn't talked to her and I was going to
too. I was on my way there.
Yeah. So, the house looked like nothing had happened all day. Like it looked shut up, like
Curtains were
blinds,
drawn.
yeah, curtains, cars are there that are supposed to be, like, doesn't look like anything's happened. And I know that my sister was gone at that point now in retrospect. And I know that I was alone with my son, pregnant, which would have really worried her. And I know that, like, she was physically sitting on me. Like, I can't tell you how I know that, but, like, it's for sure a thing, because, like, in my head I knew she was dead. Like, I thought all four of them were dead. I assumed like, in my head I'm like, there was a gas leak. Like, something,
Right.
like carbon monoxide poisoning. Like, my head never went to him at all. So I, like, walk around the house, like, I only knocked on the side door, which is the door they used. And my cousin lived across the street. And I went over there and asked him to come help me. And I feel like at some point he went back and put his kids in the basement. So, like,
So I didn't see anything.
turn the TV on downstairs, because I couldn't, at that point I acted alarmed to the point where the children knew. Unfortunately, we couldn't protect all the kids. But, so, me and my cousin go over there, and he has a lot of regret about not breaking in. Clearly we didn't do that because I was pregnant, and
You didn't need to see that.
we knocked on all the doors. We would have killed him. We knocked on all the doors. We'll come back to that issue later. And I asked the neighbor if they had seen anything, and they were both just getting home, and they're like, no. And they offered me, like, a bottle of water, and we're like, you gotta breathe, like. And I was like, no, I'm calling the police. And they wanted me to call his parents because they owned the house, and we're like,
Right.
and I'm like, I don't care what you say right now. So I called the police and, said that I wanted a well check. As soon as I hang up from them, my father calls me, and he says, did you find her? And I said, no. I said, I just called the police. And he said, I'm on my way. So he hung up on me. So then I called my husband to tell him, because he's at home with my son 4 blocks away. So that's why when I say my husband would have saved her, like, we would have taken them, it was 4 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Short city blocks. So he's, like, let me keep me posted. So then, my car's in the driveway, the police all kind of pull up, and, it was only like 1 car, 2 cops for sure. And they're kind of asking me, like, why, what's going on, like, and I was just like, I haven't talked to my sister all day, like, this is not normal, like, this is just not normal. And he said to me, I'll never forget this, have you had a fight recently with your sister to where she wouldn't call you back? Never tell you this. And I said, in middle school over an outfit. I said, no. So he accepted that. And they walked up to the porch,
The
front door, which I didn't knock on. And he answered the fucking door. That was the only thing that surprised me. Like, in my head, like, I had all these thoughts, like, you could have knocked me over with
Right.
at that moment. And my dad's still not there. And they open the door, and I'm standing, like, on the grass between the sidewalk and the curb. And he didn't look like the guy I knew. Like, he looked fucking bewildered. Like, he didn't know what was going on. And, they were like, what's going on? Like, it wasn't moving quick enough for me. And I stepped to the side where he could, like, get a clear shot of me. And I said, where the fuck is my sister? And he said, oh, I don't know, inside sleeping. And, like, he wasn't that out of it. He knew who I was talking about. He knew who the fuck I was. Like, he didn't say, what? Like, it wasn't confusion. And I screamed, bullshit, it's 6:30, where's them fucking babies? And at that point, the cops kind of, like, stepped where they kind of closed the door so that, like, I couldn't see him anymore. And they asked if they could come in, and he let them in. And, like, from that point, like, my dad pulls up. And then the ambulance pulls up a half a block away and, like, block the street, and they take off the street. Like, they didn't even come out and tell us before they started taking off the street. And now neighbors are gathering, and, like, people are coming home. It's like I said, 6:30. Like,
That's when you called me.
that's when I called you. Well, I called Tony first, and I called Tony, and I was laying in the grass, and my dad yanked the phone out of my hand and said, come get your wife and take care of her. And he hung up on Tony. So Tony dropped Coley off to the neighbor, and, like, my mother-in-law just handled him from there, and Tony just, came straight to me. So then we all, like, moved to Josh's backyard.
Right.
Because, like, across the street to my cousin's backyard, because we didn't want to be stared at by the fucking neighbors. My father called my mother. It wasn't great. Did I tell you in the car? Did I make you pull over?
You made me pull over. I was right down the street. I wasn't that far from Chris's house.
Yeah.
I was in between, leaving, cause I stopped at the club just to make sure they were all set, and I was gonna go straight to Christy's house. And I was like almost to 9 Mile, and you're like, do not come here. And I'm like, what? So that's when I stopped and, like, kind of pulled over. And you're like, do not come here. They are getting the tape out. And I'm like, what do you mean the tape? And you're like, you were hysterical at that point. And you're like, they're getting the tape out. And I was like, oh God. And that's when I knew. And I lost it.
How do you tell somebody that? Like, I hate telling strangers, because strangers look at you like you have 3 fucking minutes. Like,
I know.
They look at you like you just sprouted another arm. Like, they just want to hide.
Right.
But, like, how do you tell somebody properly? Like, my dad blurted it out to my mom, but how? There's no other way.
Yeah, there's no easy way of even saying it.
God bless Emily, because she came and took care of my mother. She called me and said, where are you? Where are you? And she was going to stay there. She, go take care of yourself. I'm going to take care of her. Okay. I mean, there's just not a good way to inflict that trauma on somebody.
Not at all.
You know, I mean, I feel like so many people were traumatized, like, hearing it on the news. And, like,
Oh God, yeah.
we have such a large community of clients, friends. You know, it just, I mean, there was almost 800 people at the funeral. It just,
I know.
you don't know how to say it to people. You don't know. You feel like saying, sorry for ruining your day about this. You know,
Right.
I want to tell you. Also, side note, my dad kept trying to get me up out of the grass and put me in a hard plastic chair.
No.
God bless my husband. He showed up and said, leave her there. She's been waiting for the grass. It's April. She loves the earth. Yeah. It just, and that was a blur right there. Like, the next week was kind of a blur. There was people in and out of my house.
Yeah.
My mother couldn't go home because there was camera crews on her corner. Luckily, I lived in a protected situation where, like, on a court where we could kind of control neighbors wouldn't have put up with any of those people camping out. So, yeah, my sister's husband was brought out by the police. He killed his kids. He snapped. Something dark took over him. I mean, I don't want to say a whole lot because his family's in our community as well. Many people who love us love them. You know, his sister and, like, you know, family members. It's not, something was wrong with him. Something that he would not let go of. And part of my big healing process was getting to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realize how big that was for me. Because I didn't participate in anything. I was first on the scene. I was the person who called the cops. So, like, I was going to have to be that person in court, like, who testified to all of that. Like, why were you looking for your sister? What were you doing? Like, so I didn't want to participate with any of that while I was still pregnant. I needed to keep my head down and stay healthy and try and not be worked up all the fucking time and not have a premature kid and take care of my son that was in my home. Like, it's not a joke. Like, when you have kids, it gives you a reason to put your feet on the ground. Like, you have to. People say, how do you do it? I didn't see I had a choice. I mean, obviously I could have whatever, but being pregnant, I really didn't have a choice. There was no, like, drinking. There was no, like, crutch to hold on to.
Right.
Besides, I needed to just maintain.
Yeah.
Just maintain. That was all I could do. And so I was really happy to not deal with any of that. But my brain kept working that whole time. And so by the time that it, like, came time for me to have to, like, show my face in a courtroom,